Singapore's Aviation Authority has launched a new national plan, which identifies safety challenges in the sector. These include adopting new technologies and emerging risks associated with manpower constraints. The Civil Aviation Authority of Singapore, or CAAS, also sets out how the plan will address them. This as the country's air passenger volume is expected to grow strongly in the coming years. Now, the plan covers 4 strategic priorities. One is improving operational safety. Authorities will conduct a holistic, independent review of runway safety in Singapore. Other measures include looking at how to reduce the risks posed by wildlife and having more accurate information to mitigate the risks of adverse weather. Now, they'll also improve cabin safety during turbulence. Now, at the policy level, authorities will strengthen the regulatory regime and enable innovation. As part of this, a tripartite committee will look at how to manage the risk of fatigue among flight crew amid a post-pandemic surge in demand for air travel. Authorities will also look at how to improve safety management. They will do this through initiatives to strengthen awareness among airside workers and a strategy for the safe adoption of automation and AI. And in terms of capacity building, they'll explore the use of new technologies to enhance training and assessment for pilots. They also improve mental health support for the aviation community. And one expert explains the need for a new aviation safety plan.
If you look at endemic risks, runway incursions and excursions, this has been happening for various reasons, and they don't cease to exist. And then you have things like turbulence. So how do we arrest these risks? At the same time, there is new technology that is coming to help you to identify the risks and also look at the incidents and how they are happening and where they are happening and at which time of the year they are happening, so that gives you some idea as to how to mitigate the risks.
And for more on this, we have 2 guests with us on Zoom. We have Subhas Menon, who is Director General of the Association of Asia Pacific Airlines, and Chen Chuanren is Regional Editor of Air Transport World and also a member of Aviation Week Network. Now, gentlemen, thanks for joining us today. Now, Subhas, let's start with you. There are 45 new actions in the National Aviation Safety Plan to address the challenges we mentioned before. So how adequate are they in the current aviation landscape?
Well, the safety plan, actually the states are required to update their safety plans, every 3 years. And this is usually done before the ICAO assembly. And this year, the ICAO assembly is going to take place this month. And it is an evolution, okay? We cannot say that one safety plan addresses all the risks, because it is an evolutionary thing. And safety is all about risk management. So you identify the risks and then you eliminate and mitigate them. So the endemic risks as well as arising risks. The endemic risks are mostly operational risks, runway incursions, excursions, as we talked about, maybe risks of collision and system failures. Whereas arising risks are things like turbulence and GNSS and GPS spoofing, especially in conflict zones. So I would say that beyond that, if you take a long-term view, you also have to address the robustness of your safety management system, where are the loopholes and how these can be improved, and also to build a strong safety culture. Manpower shortages is also a big issue since the pandemic, and how can we address this? And looking into the future, how can we be more inclusive and more diverse, in our training and talent spotting? Aviation is one of the most advanced technological enterprise, but when it comes to diversity, actually we have to hang our heads in shame. We can do much better. So how do we tap, all the talent that is, available in the wider market?
And Chuanren, let's get to you now. Now, Singapore has a world-class safety record, but global aviation incidents are still quite a key concern. How vulnerable is Singapore in that larger context? And also, how far will such a plan be a safeguard in this case?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me. Aviation is a collective industry, and as international air hub and an open economy, whatever happens abroad will indeed affect Singapore in one way or another, especially since many in Singapore and around Singapore flies, and the number who will fly in the region will grow. So I think to answer your question on how vulnerable is Singapore, there's definitely certain exposure to the effects of aviation safety and incidents. A good example is the grounding of the 737 MAX aircraft in 2019, when obviously these are events happening outside of Singapore, but they had direct impact on the operations of the SIA fleet then, and of course of airlines other airlines operation into Singapore.
Now, Subhas, we're looking at new technologies here that are quite exciting. Things like autonomous systems, also drone integration are slowly entering the aviation ecosystem. What do you think are the biggest potential blind spots when it comes to regulators today?
Well, I think we have seen some impact of this during the Middle East war recently. We talk about GNSS spoofing and GPS spoofing, but ironically, the militaries of both sides were actually engaging in spoofing to ward off, the enemy's drones. So the very people who are supposed to protect the aviation environment were engaging in activities that may cause more danger. So these are all developments that are happening, and we need to keep a close eye and be very vigilant. I would say that Singapore, for a state of its size, punches above its weight. And usually what happens is that best practices are shared. Safety is not a competitive enterprise. It is a collaborative enterprise, as Chandran has mentioned. So it all contributes to the larger whole. And sharing of information, sharing of data, and also using AI positively to try and address some of the risks that are out there that we cannot pinpoint. For example, clean air turbulence, when it occurs, and providing that resilient support for pilots when they are flying through these danger zones.
Right. And Chuanren, having to integrate all of that to make flying safer, how will it then affect the cost of travel? Could this then be passed on to customers? Could the fares rise as a result of these enhanced safety measures?
Well, the answer is pretty simple and very short. As cliche as it sounds, safety always remains to be top priority for everyone in the industry, and we hear that from airports and airlines all the time. I just came back from a conference in South Korea, where I'm at right now, and that's the common saying. They would do anything to maintain the safety of their operations, and they have vested interest to ensure that their safety standards are maintained regardless of their revenue, because lives are at stake. And anyone who might think of increasing costs in the name of safety will be sending the wrong signals to the industry and to the consumers.
Chuanren, Subhas, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. I've been chatting with Subhas Menon, who is Director General at Association of Asia Pacific Airlines, and also Chen Chuanren, who is a Regional Editor at Air Transport World.